Alright everybody, in this episode I'm going to take you through my Ironman setup, what I've changed, what's gone wrong, what's been fantastic, what's been horrible, what's the ride like after 2 years, what was the after service sales, all that kind of stuff like after 2 years. All that information is going to be in this video, so it's going to be a reasonably long one, but it's going to be filled to the brim with information. If you have any kind of Triton, you can definitely get something out of this video, because the MQ, MN and I believe the MR all share the very similar chassis and architecture. So yeah, all the suspension, that kind of stuff, obviously will be universal across the bunch, different shocks and that kind of thing. But as I said, in this video I'm going to take you through absolutely everything, so stay tuned, grab a beer and we'll get into it. So the first thing I'm going to take you through is the rear leaf setup. So I've stuck with the original 300 kilo constant leaf springs in the back. I'm toying away at the idea of coiling it, mainly because just the flex and that kind of stuff, and at the moment I'm not really needing the extra weight that these springs can handle, so I'm not putting it on the vehicle. So I'm in two minds about coiling the rear. That's quite expensive, so I'm not a millionaire, so that's long down the path. But what I do want to take you through is the actual leaf springs. What's gone wrong? Okay, so to the credit of Ironman, now they replaced it literally in the same week, but this actual rear leaf actually started sagging. So I first thought it was due to the fact that I had the awning and all that kind of stuff on this side, fuel tanks on this side and that kind of stuff, but it actually dropped 30 mil. So you can only imagine this is a 50 mil lift, and a 30 mil drop is a massive amount. So the back end was very tilted to one side, and yeah, it caused a few dramas. So what did I do? I went straight to Ironman, said the rear leaf is definitely sagging. They measured it all up. They said, yep, 100%, it's definitely sagging. From what they can work out, it might not have set correctly in the when they heat them up, so it might not have set correctly, so it might have just been a faulty one, which is fine. And yeah, they went around and replaced it. You know, easy done. So yeah, I think it was within my car for like half a day, so nothing major. But if I am talking about the actual suspension itself, no other problems. So, but in the rear leaf, in the rear section, there's been no other issues. I've got the airbag, man, obviously airbags in the rear. They've been in there for about 20,000 Ks. They're still going fantastic. But obviously they're not part of the Ironman setup, but it can give you an idea about my whole rear setup. And I've got the foam cell shocks in the rear as well, and they've been fantastic. Haven't had any blights or anything like that. Been under plenty of corrugations, never really caused an issue. And that's pretty much the rear setup. So the rear is very basic, right? It's the leaf suspension. So I've not got a sway bar in the rear. There's plenty of people that talk about putting sway bars and that kind of stuff in the rear. Look, I feel like with the airbags and that kind of stuff, I probably have lost a little bit of flex anyway, so I don't lose too much more by putting a sway bar in there. But with the airbags and that kind of thing, that's yeah, no, it's doing really fine. Only thing I can think of moving forward is, in the whole car I'm talking about, I'm probably going to do a 1-inch body lift. The reason for that is eventually I'm going to put 35-inch tyres on this, so the 1-inch body lift is going to come in handy. I've still only got the standard 2-inch lift in the rear with 300 kilo shocks, obviously, and the foam cells. But that's pretty much it. The rear has been fantastic, so no major issues. As I said, only one leaf spring. So in 2 years, one leaf spring has sagged. Came to the party, swapped it over, no issues. So yeah, fantastic, obviously, result there. So we'll go to the front, where I have actually done most of my changes and most of my work, and I'll explain to you how I've got the 3-inch lift at the front. Alright, so front of the vehicle, fair bit going on here. So I've obviously got the standard, I believe they're 100 kilo maximum shocks. So the actual rating on them is 100 kilos. They're the most hardest shocks you can get in these. Mainly because all bar, winch, 2 batteries at the front, spotties obviously, I've got the snorkel on the other side, and I've got a few things under the bonnet that weigh a little bit more than factory. That all adds weight, and I was getting a little bit of sagging at the front. So, what did I do? Well, first off, I had the front end sagging as well, 20 mil. Again, approached Ironman, went to the shop and all that kind of thing. They replaced both springs, deemed them faulty. They actually deemed them to, I believe, they put the actual wrong spring rating in, so they put the 50 kilos in there, hence why it sagged, because I had these in there for about 10,000 Ks, and they haven't sagged a single bit. So I would say the original install, they put the wrong springs in there, and it is what it is. But sag 20 mil, but again, went to Ironman, they fixed it up. They deemed it obviously an issue and fixed it all up for me, which is fantastic. Now, when I put it all on there, you would know I've got 33-inch tyres in this car. Now, with the zero offset, they don't scrub. They do scrub at full lock, all that kind of stuff, but they're not too bad. So, with the bigger tyres, I was noticing when I was going off-roading, even with the newer springs, I was noticing it was still scrubbing a little bit. And I knew where I was scrubbing. It was scrubbing pretty much at the bottom of this this flare down here. So what I did is, one of the benefits of Ironman suspension, as I said, I'm not affiliated with these guys, but I do appreciate the extras you can do with this particular suspension. You can put these shims actually in the suspension itself, and that actually compresses the spring a little bit more and actually pushes the car up even higher. So what we did is we put a 15 mil shim, which the way the man at Ironman explained it is actually the same as lifting another inch. So it actually gives you a 3-inch lift at the front. Now, there's pros and cons to this. The pros, I don't get any more rubbing, which is fantastic. The cons, my downwards travel has been reduced to, it's fairly, almost nothing, but it's still there, but it's not a much. So if I'm going into a rut, my wheel will pretty much bottom out, and I'll have to rely on the traction control or whatever to get me out of that situation. Now, that's just an issue with this particular car, because the downwards travel on these, when you start putting 2 inches in there, you're only getting, you're not getting much at all anyway. So IFS, yeah, it's got its limitations, all that kind of stuff, but then you have to start relying on electronics. So it is what it is, right? So I'm not too stressed about that. The other side is I get the same upwards travel, so I've got no issue there. But the other con is I'm getting a much harsher CV angle. So my right-hand side CV, that's ready to go. It makes like a tink, 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 tink noise. So that's ready to go, but they've been on there for the whole car. So they're 102,000 kilometers old, and the full driving and stuff I do, I'm not overly worried about them blowing up because I feel like they've done their job properly. So the CV has definitely put more strain on that. The angle has definitely put more strain on that CV, and these big clunkers wouldn't have helped. So yeah, 100%. There's definitely pros, fit bigger tires, all that kind of stuff, but the cons, yeah, CVs are going to be your enemy, and they're not going to like you too much when you go off road. So yeah, if you're going to go this kind of setup, just be prepared to learn how to replace CVs, and there'll be a video coming soon on how to do that anyway. So you'll be a pro in no time. But pros, I want to go through the real good pros. So I haven't lost any. It hasn't become harsher or anything like that. So my ride hasn't become harsher. As I said, I can drive in more places without it rubbing on guards and that kind of stuff. So that's definitely a pro. I can put the 33s under there, and it doesn't really cause too many issues. I could probably put 35s under here at this rate. If I had a 35 in there now, I would be rubbing pretty much on my bull bar at full lock, and possibly behind here as well. Now this is where I want to go that 1-inch lift of the body. So that's just going to give me that little bit more clearance that I need, but that's a while away anyway, so I'm not overly stressed about that. But yeah, it's been able to make it so I can actually fit the tyres and that kind of stuff under there without any rubbing. Now, the biggest factor you need to take in when you're doing the suspension setup. First, it's got to be reasonably priced. It's got to have a quality brand and all that kind of thing behind it. Not too expensive, unless you want to go expensive, like Kings and that kind of stuff. 2, it's got to have some performance. You've got to have comfortability on the road, and you have to have some off-road performance when you go off-roading. And 3, the biggest thing is longevity, as well as the dealer network and that kind of stuff. So if you get a suspension or something like that off the internet and you install it yourself, who is going to fix the broken leaf? Who is going to fix this broken spring or sagging spring when you have issues, if you have issues down the track? They're all things to think about when you're buying suspension. If you buy it online, my biggest factor is try to take into a shop that actually has a dealer network, and that way, at least, if you have a drama, you can definitely go get something sorted out. So that's the front suspension. So fair bit going on here, 1-inch shim, 2-inch lift, 3 inches in total. It makes the car look fantastic. It's nice and level as well. And as I said, on-road handling and that kind of stuff hasn't been compromised. It still drives as it normally does. And as at the back, I've got a 2-inch lift in the back as well as the airbag suspension, but 300 kilo constant springs and the foam cell shocks front and back. So that is pretty much the whole suspension setup. And the next segment, I'm going to take you through everything that I love about the suspension, everything I hate about the suspension as well, and would I buy it again? That's the big burning question. So let's get into that. All right, first off, cons and pros. First off, actually, pretty cool, right? That's Max Flex, but it's got some, it's got the behind there. Probably sit under here. Anyway, first off, let's go through cons. Yes, I definitely had some issues with my rear leafs and that kind of stuff, and my front springs. Has that caused a dampener on Ironman? No, I don't think so. I mean, they came to the party every time. They replaced all the gear, and I didn't really have an issue. So I definitely don't have any bad eggs or anything like that to say about Ironman suspension or anything like that. They've been fantastic with the whole process. Bunbury 4x4 has probably been the biggest thing. They came out and helped out massively when I was getting all the issues. So yeah, got a massive shout out to those guys. They did a fantastic job. So yeah, I mean, with all the issues, I mean, one rear leaf that sagged, which really seemed like to be a manufacturing issue, and the front suspension sagged because it had the wrong springs in it. Neither here nor there. I lost my car for potentially half a day, so whoop-de-doo in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, I'm not overly stressed about the Ironman suspension. People always come up to me and say, "Yo, what's your suspension setup?" Yeah, I mean, it's an Ironman lift kit. I went with the Ironman lift kit originally because I think they were the only ones that did a 50mm lift kit. ARB and all that kind of stuff do a 30mm. And there's reasons for that, right? So you got the tail shaft, the two-piece tail shaft issue, the shutter. Most of these brands don't like lifting cars too high because then you obviously get bad CV angles, then you start smashing CVs. So most brands keep it conservative, but yeah, I went with the Ironman because they actually did a 50mm lift kit for the actual Triton. So I suppose the big thing for me, would I recommend this? If I got it for the same price, because I got this for mates rates, I believe the original price was like $15.50, so you're not going to get it for that price, I'd say, these days, because no dealer's going to look after you like the way the guys in Gelton did. But yeah, I mean, if you're getting this for a good price, I'd say if you got this for around about $1,800, because that'd be fitting and that kind of stuff included, yeah, that'd be a pretty good price, and I think you're going to get a pretty good setup for the money. And obviously you get a 5-year warranty and all that kind of stuff with it as well. So it's not bad at all. So I suppose that's really the only con. It's caused a few issues with springs and leafs and that kind of stuff. Not a big deal. Pros, off-road, it flexes out massively compared to the standard. As you can see, I mean, this is a pretty wild track. So this is full flex right here. But I suppose the big thing for me is the way it keeps flat. So even at the moment, it's wheels right up in the air, but this isn't too bad. Like, we're not lifting a front wheel or doing anything spastic. It's holding itself really well. And I mean, if you pulled it down just a tiny bit, it's almost flat on the road. So it doesn't look too bad. Probably looks a little bit worse in the camera. But if you were driving this and this back end did this, I wouldn't be too stressed. If I was going down a hill, I'd probably be a little bit more stressed because you got that more inclined to fall over. But if you're just going down a flat track like this, yeah, it's fantastic. And it keeps itself nice and flat, which is the one thing I like about it. Second, I think it's very, very comfortable with what I've done to the car. The 300 kilos in the back, yeah, they're a little bit stiff, and if I put a little bit more weight in the tray, they'll probably be a little bit, softer. But then I'm just carrying more weight around just for the fact of my suspensions. That's a bit how you're going. So I suppose the big thing for me, yeah, if you're going to go it and you've got a tub, you just got drawers, and you're going to go camping once in a while and you're going to put a fridge and stuff in there, maybe just go the 150s or the 100s, because I think 300 is probably a little bit overkill. If you got a canopy and all that kind of stuff, yeah. Or a metal tray, 300s for sure, but yeah, if you just got a tub like this and, drawers and that kind of stuff, yeah, go the 100 or 150, I think it is. So that'll definitely make the ride a little bit better. Obviously, with the shims in the front, it's definitely taking away a little bit of my wheel travel going down, or my downwards travel, however you want to say it. It's that really big concern to me? Not really, because I've already got a locker coming for this. So I've got a front locker coming. So if I really need to and I'm crawling through a track like this, flick the locker button and, you know, just crawl up. So I'm not really stressed about that. But yeah, if you had an open diff type setup, yeah, it can cause a few dramas with CVs and that kind of stuff. But if you don't drive it like a spastic, you'll be fine anyway. So yeah, I suppose in the grand scheme of things, am I happy with it? Yeah, I'm pretty damn happy with the whole setup. The suspension goes fantastic and hasn't really caused any dramas at all. Definitely nothing to write home about. Definitely nothing to ring up Ironman and tell them that, you know, the suspension's useless and all the rest of it. But yeah, no, I'm pretty stoked with it. So yeah, if you want to know the setup, I'll go through it very, very quickly now. Front end 2-inch lift, 100 kilo springs with shims, so that gives me a 3-inch lift with foam cell shocks. And then at the rear, I have foam cell shocks with 300 kilo constant leaf springs, as well as airbag man suspension airbag helper kits, which normally 9 times out of 10 when I'm going off road haven't got any air in them, but they normally have about 10 psi when I'm buzzing around town and all that. So yeah, pretty simple setup. No sway bar on the rear. I have tried with and without a sway bar on the front. It makes no difference. These cars do not get any benefit from it, so I wouldn't really go down that path. You're just going to turn your car into a very, very topsy-turvy car when you're driving around the highway, which is 99% of the time. So keep the front sway bar in there and utilise the traction control and locker if you have one installed. So yeah, look, I mean, that's sort of the update on the suspension. Moving forward, yeah, after I go the front end conversion and all that kind of stuff. So as I said, I'm sort of keeping this car for the next 10 years. So I'll sass the front, I'll put a rear coil in the back, and then I'll probably go a full king setup. But that, you know, that's 5 years down the track. I've still got 3 years warranty left on this, so I'll probably keep this for another 3 to 5 years. And then once I do that SAS conversion, then yeah, boom, I'll go a full king setup. But I'm not made of money, obviously, so YouTube is a hobby to me, so, and I don't make really that much money out of it. So I suppose the grand thing is save up your money and you know, do these things when you can do it. But yeah, I might leave it there. I mean, if you've got any questions, if you want to know more about my setup, it's pretty simple. But if you want to know a little bit more about, you know, any interaction I have with Ironman, any part numbers, models, or anything like that, if you need it from me, let me know. So that's been another episode of 4x4 Camping and Adventures. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Get this video out there and show your friends, and maybe that might give them some information that they need to upgrade their suspension. But I might see you out in the tracks and trails. If I don't see you out in the tracks and trails, I might even see you in the next video. And look, if I don't see you there, I'll see you later. Bye!